Okay, so um, today I want to talk to the other writers out there. So if you've been following this blog because you're a writer and maybe you thought that this would help you out in some fashion, this is a post for you. So as we're winding up here with NaNoWriMo, because it is now, I believe, the 23rd. Watch me get the date wrong. It's the 23rd today, which means that we're down to our last week of Nano. So if you're up on your word count, congratulations, you're doing awesome. If you haven't quite caught up yet, there's still time. Um, it is possible to win Nano in 7 days, even if you haven't started. It is really hard, even for me, but that does not mean it can't be done. But if you have finished a first draft or are going to finish a first draft, a lot of people wonder at this point, what is the next step? The next step is not publish your novel. So please don't do that. For a lot of us indie authors, people that just publish unfinished drafts that have not been edited or betaed or anything, saturate the market with shitty fiction that make indie authors look bad and make it hard to actually share their work. So if you have finished a draft, be aware that you might think it's awesome, it still needs work. This is not an exception for any writer anywhere, ever, ever, ever. You have to edit. So next step is edit it yourself. If you're terrible at editing, that's okay. Then don't edit it yourself. Find somebody who knows what they're doing. Typically, you want to get a friend or someone who's going to be fairly gentle on you for that first round, especially if you know that you need some work. Because again, you can have real shit grammar and spelling and write a fantastic story. All you need to do is have the best story and be able to get it down on paper, and then other people who are better at editing and fixing things will help you turn it into a good book. So, first step is edit it yourself. Second step is find somebody else to look at it, unless you're really confident in your self editing skills, which I am. I have not really had trouble with editing with grammar and typos my entire life. I actually tested out of spelling in elementary school. um, so, but most people need help with editing, so I recommend doing that. After that, you can do an alpha read and a beta read. You don't have to do an alpha read. It's basically just a rough chop read through of, yes, this is a good premise. Yes, your story makes sense. Yes, this is going to be good. It's not meant to be a complete edit. You don't have to have your alpha reader take the time to point out all of the little typos and grammar mistakes. It's not the point. The point is, I just finished a draft. Is it worth turning into a book? That's all an alpha reader's for. Beta readers are different. Beta readers you want to do after you pretty much have a clean edited draft and are trying to look for, is it confusing? Are there spots where you glaze over and don't want to continue reading? Are there spots that you find particularly exciting? Are there plot holes that need to be filled in? Did something occur to you that you go, you know what, this is really good, but you know what would make it better is if you put this right here. Or, hey, I feel like this chapter should be before this chapter because it would read better, and here's why. Beta readers are supposed to help you craft a good story. So they're people who have a pretty good understanding of what you were trying to accomplish. They're people who read your genre and would buy your book if you had it, and then they're people who want you to have the best product that you can produce. So what you really want out of a beta reader is help making the best possible story that you can, and you want them to go in with a good understanding of what is expected of them. A lot of times, and I love my friends, but a lot of times when I get beta readers, what they end up doing is going, I love this, I love this, I love this, I love this, this is confusing, I love this, I love this, I love this, I love this, which is awesome. It makes me feel really good about myself, and the story is good. But I believe it's giving me false ideas about how good of a writer I really am. Maybe I'm wrong, but when 5 out of your 6 betas tell you that it's pretty much flawless, um, maybe it is. But to me, I feel like that's more just, I have readers. I don't really have beta readers. On the one hand, it tells me that I have a great story. I don't know, maybe I am just a good drafter. I guess we'll find out when I start publishing, right? So, but you want somebody who has an understanding of the writing craft and can really help you. So you really want to get other writers if you can. If possible, get at least one you aren't really good friends with, because your friends will spare your feelings. In fact, it happened to me with Achillea, where I had some major errors with my story that they glossed over because they were like, I thought about that, but I didn't really think that it was going to be as big of a deal as it apparently is. I really wish that they would have told me that before I finished it, but what are you gonna do? I love my friends; they're fantastic, and I couldn't do anything without them. But for you, listening to me about my beta readers and what your beta readers should be, you need people who are good writers, understand the structure of a story, and know what they're looking for. So that's what you want. And again, what you want to be looking for in a beta read are the premise. Is your first chapter, is your first line very good? Are your characters great? Does your story make sense? Are there holes in the plot? Are there scenes that could be added that could make it better? Are there scenes that are completely unnecessary and don't bring anything to your story? Is the ending good? Is anything confusing? Are they picking up on those fun little tools that you put in there to confuse people? Are they hurt where you want them to hurt? Are they happy where they're supposed to be happy? And so my recommendation when you're doing this, use Google Docs. So if you put your whole story up there on Google Docs, then they have the ability to comment, and you can leave little comments and give them a list of what you're looking for and give it to them and be like, take this along with you in every chapter, and these are the things I want to know. Especially look for where they're getting lost, where they're glazing over, what is confusing them. Those are the problems that you need to fix. Okay, so I think that pretty much covers first edits and beta readers and alpha readers. Past that, even after a beta reader, you might not be done because they're going to suggest things. You might need to fix them. But also, you probably will read and reread a draft a lot. I don't do it any less than 10 times, ever. And when you consider that you're writing a 2, 3, 4, 500-page novel, reading it 10 times is a pretty significant time investment. But that's what you want. To provide a couple of examples, I watch a lot of Patrick Rothfuss's streams, and he and Brandon Sanderson are on opposite ends of an editing spectrum. So Brandon Sanderson whips out a first draft. It's a pretty solid first draft. He finishes the draft, doesn't edit it at all, sends it to an editor. Editor suggests comments, he makes the changes, they go back to the editor, and then they come back and he basically just approves it. So he only sees it like 3 times. That's it. He's done. So that's why he publishes so much, is because he finishes the draft and he's done with it and he moves on. He finishes the draft, he's done with it and he moves on. And that's why he has so many books. Patrick Rothfuss, on the other hand, is 5 or 6 years between a novel, and the reason is because he's a compulsive editor. So he writes a few thousand words and he goes back and edits them, and he writes a few thousand more and he goes back and edits them, and he goes through the same draft, he says, 300 to 400 times, which is insane. But that is his commitment to how good he wants his finished product to be. That's what he obsesses over. So there, you can be any kind of writer you want to, so long as what you publish is what you're going to be the happiest with. That doesn't matter. Now that I've provided all of that information, the purpose of this video is to tell you who might be a writer with a finished draft that I am willing to read it for you. I enjoy doing this. I really want to help people become better writers. So especially if you're writing fantasy and sci-fi, because that's the genre that I enjoy, and it's the one I could probably most help you with, especially when you've got problems with, world building, which is a huge one in fantasy and sci-fi. I can help you. I will read your draft. I will suggest edits. I will help you rearrange it. I will tell you, where you're missing things. I can be a good beta. I can be an excellent editor. However, I do caution you that if you want my help, that you are going to receive both positive and negative feedback. So if you're a shitty writer, I'm probably going to give you ideas on how to improve. I won't be a dick. I'm pretty good at not being a dick. but I am going to tell you that these are the things that you need to improve if you want to publish it. On the other hand, I will point out every single thing I love about your novel. So, if you're planning on ever publishing it, you do need help from somebody to improve. You should never believe you're flawless. So, yeah, that's my spiel. I will help you, but I will be both nice and mean. Everybody should write, but not everybody should publish. And if your goal is ultimately to publish, that's great. But don't expect you're going to publish the first thing you've ever written, especially if you're new to it. I've been writing since I was about 9, so I'm probably more ready than a lot of people to be sharing it. But if you're just discovering how much you love writing and you've only been doing it for a couple of years, it's probably going to take you some more time. That's okay. It's nothing to be ashamed of. It's just like any craft. It takes time to learn it. So you're not going to be good at it right away, and it's not anything to be ashamed of. That doesn't mean quit. Patrick Rothfuss used the example of a bike. He's like, if you start riding a bike and you tip over that first time, you can either leave your bike in the middle of the road and just go, I'm not going to be good at bikes, or you can get back up on it and keep trying until you're good at it. That's writing. It's hard. It's a lot of discipline. It's a lot of work. But if you've got a good story and you're committed to it and you love it enough and you want to turn it into something you can publish, then you have to make that commitment to your story and to your characters to do them justice and make it as best as you possibly can. And that involves eating up a lot of your ego and doing what needs to be done to do that. You do not want to publish a shitty draft, because that is what you'll be remembered for. So, that is the end of this tirade. Frankie, I cut my string off my hat. In the last video, I had this little string hanging out on my head, and Frankie told me that I needed to cut it off. Alright, and then the final note that I want to make on this video before I'll let you go is that on my last video, when I was talking about all the books I wanted to read, one of our followers, Lady Elizabeth, suggested that I link to Amazon for everything that I mentioned in there. So I did. If you go back to that post, then I have now listed all of the books that I was reading. Minus Neil Gaiman, because I didn't have anything specific. But he's Neil Gaiman. He's Neil fucking Gaiman. You should know who he is. Know how to find his books. But yeah, so if you're interested in any of the books I was talking about, you can go back to that other post and click on a link and buy them all if you want to. But I am going to go for now, because I'm now at chapter 10 of reading through the 27 chapters of Achillea and fixing that up. And let me tell you, I'm having a lot of fun with that. So more news on that another day. Thanks for following, guys.